G'day, UAVfutures here, and today we're doing a review of this. It's a ZMR V2 from FPV model. We'll pop it on the bench and have a bit of a better look at it. So this is the frame from FPV model, and I can open it up and you can see it's got a whole bunch of stuff inside. This is everything that comes in the little box, the kit. We've got the bottom plate, a PDB, top plate, 4mm arms, a whole bunch of little bolts and nuts and screws over this side, a buzzer, some nylon standoffs for your flight controller, anti-vibration dampeners just here, aluminium standoffs, FPV camera mount, and a HD camera mount here for your Mobius or your GoPro or something like that. All the carbon in this kit looks amazing. It's really high quality. It's 3K, but just looking at these arms here, they look like they've improved it again, because I've got another version, the first version that they released, and this looks even better. This is probably the best carbon that I've seen so far. If we just do a few measurements here, we can see it's a 2mm bottom plate, and the top plate is 1.9mm. I wonder what it's like on this side, just to double check. I guess the top plate in this one is 1.9mm. This is the important part, the arms, and they are 4mm arms. Well, that says 3.9, so let's just another, that one's 4.1, so all very 3.9. That's a 4mm arm just here. Just having a closer look at the PDB here. One thing I do like about this board is just how simple the layout is. So once you put your motors on here and your ESCs, you don't need to run them to your flight controller anymore using this board. What you do, you connect them up to these ESC pads here, and you've got your positive and your ground just here, as well as the signal cable. So that's where you connect your ESC up, and that has a trace that runs all the way through over to these here, which represent your motors 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you can just run a short little connection here between your PDB and your nose, so that makes it look a lot cleaner. Over here you've got some connections, so it's easy to hook up your buzzer, your V battery, and also your OSD. If you want to program your nays through your OSD, that can be quite handy. You've got some different options for your videos here. So here, if you want to get your video feed, you can connect it through the OSD. You can run it through this pad here, or if you just want to go straight from the camera without going through the OSD, that also you can just run it off this pad here. You've got a regulated power pad, and that's connected to this little pin here. So if you want to put in a voltage regulator or something like that, whatever you run into this output here is going to also regulate through here, and also this one at the front. This board fits the minimum OSD, and that slides in quite nicely. I'll show you a picture of that on my one. I should cut to that right now actually, on my other ZMR. You've got a space for your buzzer, and then at the front here it's the same things with the ESCs, and again your regulated power, 5 volts positive. Your video feed that's the AV, and then also your ground. If it had a 12-volt regulator and an LC filter, this board would be fantastic, because that means you could jump between 3 and 4S whenever you like. But at the moment, if you want to do that, you need to set up a few extra little things. It's got some LEDs here at the back, so I think these ones are red and the front ones are white. They really don't do much for me. When I fly behind one of my friends who has one of these, I can barely see some of these. I think you really need to put some of these sort of some LEDs like this, make it much better. So don't rely just on these ESCs if you're planning for people to follow you. Some handy little things and features of this board. It's got these little half holes here, and they're for zip ties, I think. So if you want to zip tie down some wires that are coming out from your video, you can zip tie them down here. And also these two here at the back for the battery. So the battery lead here, you can run a little zip tie down like I have, and that just stops your battery lead ripping off these pads. One thing that would be really cool that is not included, and I've done it on some of mine because I didn't know about it at the start, but you can see here if they had some 4mm spaces between here to make it a lot stronger, because at the moment in a crash all the weight and the stress is being pushed through the PDB instead of through this bottom carbon fiber plate. You can see it's a really neat, tidy looking frame. There's a lot of space inside here, which can be really useful when you're trying to find some spaces for those bigger components, like if you've got a large VTX or something like that. It comes with two different types of arms depending on which ones you want to get. So these are the 1806 cutouts here for the motors, but you can also get ones for some 2200 motors as well. So that just a little bit bigger and offer a little bit more protection. One little thing you do need to worry about is sometimes, and here depending on what props you're using, if you're going to use 6-inch props, sometimes they can clip together because it's so close. So I've got one here, and this is on 5-inch. There's plenty of distance between these two, but when I run 6-inch, these two props can sometimes clip together just a little bit. It doesn't really affect flight too much, and these are pulled back as far as they can, but it happens on my friend ZMR as well. So both of us sometimes have that issue when running 6-inch bullnose props, that it clips into these. Maybe it's just these dowel props though, these 645 bullnose. Alright, so it's 170 grams, but I don't have all the little bolts and screws and stuff in there, so it's probably a little bit more, and I don't have the nylon standoffs as well. This is the one I'd recommend to anybody wanting to get into the hobby. It's cheap, or cheap enough. It's not the cheapest, but it's still good quality and it's really good value. So that's how I say it. This is probably the best value frame that you can buy on the market. It comes with a PDB that makes wiring it up really simple, and it's really strong as well, because I've crashed mine like hundreds of times and I've never had any issues with it. So that's my review of the 250 ZMR from FPV Model. I'm going to leave you with some flight footage. For more things FPV related, please subscribe, and as always, happy flying!